cut two pieces of fabric 16.5 centimetres wide and 25 centimetres high. Label the inside right side. I have put a cross on the wrong side. I'm going to have 1 centimetre seam allowance. This is like representing the waist. And I've got an 18 centimetre zipper. To determine how much gap to leave before you sew the seam, you have to allow 5 millimetres underneath your seam line and line up the top, the zipper stopper 5 millimetres below your seam line. And then to determine the lower position, you are going to sew the seam up to 5 millimetres below the stopper. So I'm going to sew up to about here. Flip your work over and sew up to your pin. Reversing back at the pin and then back tacking back further down the seam. This creates a strong connection at the end of the seam so it won't come undone. The next step is to overlock the edges of your seam allowances open. Press your seam allowances back to 1.5 centimetres. Now is the time to put on your zipper foot. Have the right side of the sample and the right side of your zipper facing upwards. Open the zipper and place the right hand side of the zipper underneath the right hand side of the sample. This will be the underlap side. When placing your zipper underneath the sample, remember where the top stopper must sit, which is approximately 5 millimetres below your seam line. Place the folded edge right next to your zipper teeth and start stitching, back tacking at the beginning until you get to approximately 4 or 5 centimetres from the bottom of the zipper. Close your zipper, but you may need to lift up your presser foot to do that. Start rolling out some of the seam allowance, tapering it down to approximately 3 millimetres where your seam starts. And place this new folded edge next to your zipper teeth. Then keep stitching down next to your zipper teeth and you will be actually stitching in your seam allowance area. Stitch down to below your zipper stopper to near where your seam starts. Do not stitch out towards your seam line. Pivot your work around so that you can take 1 or 2 small stitches over to the level of your seam line. Doing this hides the stitching at the bottom of the zipper. Now you are level with the seam line, you can close the overlap side and pivot your work so that you can now stitch across 1 centimetre and then pivot again to stitch up the rest of the side of the zipper on the overlap side. Make sure that you cover the stitching on the underlap side with the fold of the fabric of the overlap side. When you are getting close to your zipper pull, position the overlap so that it covers the zipper pull, and hold on to the tape as well as your fabric. Do not let it go, and pull down the zipper to open it past the presser foot. Place your work back down, ready to finish the stitching, but be careful not to move anything out of position. Finish stitching up to the end and back tack. This is what your sample will look like from the wrong side. You will have 1 or 2 stitches sticking out from the bottom of the zipper stopper that are not in line with the rest of the stitching. Your seam allowance will look like it has a tuck in it, but this is the way it's supposed to look, and when it's pressed it will lay flat.